Hello, everyone. Welcome to Even Stevens, the show where I just talk with you, the viewer, straight onto the camera. No need for flashy editing or anything like that. We can just have a conversation. No pressure for any glitz and glamour. We can just be one-on-one, honest, direct, and transparent. That's kind of the goal or the idea behind these videos. Let me know if you like them in the comment section below. I will be checking for validation. Today, I wanted to talk about the next generation of consoles because there's been a lot of, not just a lack of excitement, but a pessimism surrounding what's going to be one of the most groundbreaking years gaming has had in probably over a decade, to be perfectly honest. And it's strange to me because it's one thing to not be too excited because, after all, we haven't seen a lot. We don't know a lot about what's coming. But that being said, it's just strange to me because I think there is reason to be excited, because it's a whole nother animal to be pessimistic, because that usually means that you're pulling people down with you. And that's something that I cannot get behind, because I think, and I'm a firm believer in being excited, allowing yourself to get a little hyped up, because there is reason to be excited. And hype is something that the gaming industry has that's so innate to our industry. I don't want to lose it. And I think it's a reflection of the aging and more mature gaming industry that we have versus 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Back in the day, we would just go crazy and we'd be screaming and just super hyped for the next gen. But as of right now, there's a lot of people, especially online, who are not just tempering expectations, but are actively pessimistic towards what's been shown and what's going to be shown, doubting that there's any reason to be excited, doubting that there's any reason to look into these new games that are going to be coming out. And I understand that skepticism, but when it leaks over into pessimism, that's when I start to, I get skeptical hippo eyes. I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on? Why is that? So I wanted to make this little video to kind of encourage all of you, because I've seen things that will be shown very shortly that have to do with the next generation of consoles, and there is reason to be excited. Now, to kind of attach a caveat to that, if you doubt me, that's perfectly fine. That's good. You have no reason to trust me. I'm just some YouTuber. You have no reason to believe anything that I'm saying, and I encourage you not to believe everything that I say. Take it all with a grain of salt. That being said, I have made many predictions in the past using sources that I have right now that I'm referring to, and those sources have time and time again proven themselves correct. For instance, I did a prediction video outlining what I expected to see in the next Assassin's Creed game, that I predicted all of these line items in terms of gameplay features, the removal of naval combat to a second tier to make sure that they force melee combat, dual wielding, that type of thing. I made that video over a year ago, before they announced anything, and effectively almost every single prediction in that video is correct. And I want you to verify that. There were a couple that were wrong, a couple things that I assumed, but the majority, overwhelming majority of those predictions ended up being true. And that's not because of me being wise or incredibly smart. That's because my sources knew what they were talking about and were legitimate. So I want you to know that there's reason to trust what I'm saying at the outset. Again, you verify what I'm saying. I'll have the link to that prediction video in the comments section, or rather the description box below, so you can verify it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. That being said, these same people, and some of the same people, have shared glimpses of what they're working on, of what's to come, and there is reason to be excited. Yes, Xbox blew it when they did their next-gen gameplay reveal. They've kind of gone back and forth. They've said things like that, well, there was a miscommunication because we were saying that it was gameplay reveals, but what we meant was in-engine reveals featuring mimicked gameplay. A bunch of crap like that. All told, they just screwed up, and it was poorly done, and they claimed it was going to show gameplay of a lot of next-gen games. It showed a couple clips, but that was about it. They really didn't share much of anything. Of course, most people were probably most upset about Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the lack of gameplay in the gameplay reveal trailer, but I digress. It's not particularly important. What is important is that I think there is a reason people are skeptical after they've kind of been given the runaround a couple of times. That being said, there are things to show. There are things that developers are working on that are exclusive to the next generation of consoles, and there's reason to be excited for that. As I've said in many videos previously, when we break down video games, how they're created, how the industry tends to work, you're always going to be developing for the lowest common denominator, right? You're always going to be developing for the weakest console in your lineup, and then you can upscale it from there for everything. But if you want it to run on the weakest, you have to make sure that it can run on that well, and then you can upgrade everything else after that. But it has to be built on the foundation of the weakest link. And that's something we've seen with cross-generational games before. For instance, like even look at something like Black Flag, a game that was ported to next gen, or really any other game that was launching in 2013. The Last of Us, the original, was released on the PS3, and then it was ported over to the PS4, but that was not a game that was designed for the PlayStation 4 in any way, shape, or form. They designed it for the weaker console, even though they knew they were going to be porting it over to the next gen soon after. And what I need people to understand is that there will be probably a holdover for about a year, just like last time in 2013 leading into 2014. There will be a holdover where a lot of developers are doing multiple like cross-generational releases, where they are releasing for the PS4 and Xbox One, and then also the Series X, which I insist is still an incredibly stupid name, and the PlayStation 5. That means that the games will still, at their core, have been developed for the PS4 and Xbox One. That makes people feel as though the next generation of consoles is weaker than they expected. It's like, why are these games still so lacking in what we expected to see? It's just because these games have been in development for 3, 4, 5 years often, and those games can't just magically be ported over to the next gen of consoles. Usually, like I said, you're developing for the weakest link in the chain, and then you're bringing everything else up to the same level. So there will be a holdover like that for a while, about a year. But after that, you're going to see games that are exclusive to the next gen of consoles, which is when you're going to start to see all of those dials getting turned up all the way. That being said, there are games that are in development for launch. As of right now, they're tentatively planning to release in November, late November, and there's one that I've heard of that's planning a big title that's planning to release in December. December, for whatever reason, is not hugely common for video game releases, even during a console generation refresh. I'm not entirely sure why. I think there's concerns about distribution. You know, if you want a product to launch over Christmas, you make sure that you get that video game out and in stores by November. That way people can buy it on Black Friday. They can buy it when all of these other big events and sales events are going on. Will that change this time around? I'm not entirely sure. For instance, there's reports that digital media is seeing a huge spike right now with all of these stores that are shut down, which makes sense to me. For instance, Animal Crossing, they've sold millions upon millions upon millions of copies, and apparently the latest sales reports and projections show that over 50% of Animal Crossing sales were digital, which is a huge increase over what was seen last March during the same time, roughly. So I think there's reason to believe that we could see more games releasing in December, but usually publishers are fairly hesitant to launch in December just because of a bunch of other marketing crap that goes on. I'm sure they have the numbers to back it up. It just seems a little strange to me. But that being said, Sony is attempting, similarly to what they did last time, a 3-tiered release schedule for exclusives. They're trying to have a couple games that come out around the launch of the console, so of course you have something to buy with your console. And the goal of every major video game developer, or in this case hardware manufacturer, the goal is to have a Breath of the Wild that goes with your console, where people are so excited to play the game that they're willing to buy a $300 console or more just to play it. That's what you want. Xbox, as of right now, I have not heard of one game that seems to cross genre fan bases, that seems to pull people in from all corners of the gaming industry that makes them want to buy a multi-$100 console just to get their hands on it. I don't know if Xbox will have that exclusive or that game, but Sony is taking active steps to make sure that they have a game such as that in place when the console launches. Now, as of right now, I just released a Nit Grid episode breaking down how motion capture studios are currently closed. A lot of these companies aren't able to get in there to reshoot motion capture scenes, which for narrative games, which most of Sony's biggest exclusives are, right now they're in trouble because they can't reshoot a lot of those scenes. They can't go and shoot, period, scenes. So stuff is getting cut, things are being reworked because they can't even film the actors in a studio right now, which is really unfortunate. It could lead to delays, or it could lead to a lot of content being cut from these games to get them out on time. I don't know who's going to make the decision. I don't know what Sony's going to decide when it comes down to it. We're just going to have to wait and see. Hopefully they're still able to produce the games in time to get something out. Of course, the games that are on the lineup, my personal predictions, we're probably going to see teaser trailers for the next Spider-Man game. Again, teaser trailer is important to clarify. Teaser trailer does not mean that the game is coming out anytime soon. For instance, the next God of War is highly anticipated, and it's also fairly ambitious. They've already said, even in the Raising Kratos documentary about the creation of the original game, they've said that that game is going to be off the charts. The next game is going to be ridiculous. They're just turning all the knobs up to 11 and then ripping it off. They're just going insane because they kind of proved themselves with the 2018 game, and now they can just go crazy, do everything they wanted to do before. Sony has pretty much opened up the budget, saying do whatever you want, which is a dream come true for them. Means that it's going to take time, though, especially with a lot of these studios unable to release or rather be in studio working on these games shoulder to shoulder. They're working from home, most of them. So with that being said, a teaser trailer just means it could be a 20-second cinematic. That's all they really need to show, hey, remember God of War? We have another one coming. And it's just a quick little thing. Maybe it shows Kratos and a slightly older Atreus going, and then Thor drops down, looks over his shoulder, and then it cuts to black, and then you see the logo come up. That's all you need to excite people to be like, oh, crap, right. If I want to play that game, I have to buy a PS5. That's the only place I can get it. And then they'll do that for Spider-Man, a quick little teaser trailer. The game might not even launch until fall of next year. And in all likelihood, it probably won't until fall of next year. But they're going to be revealing a lot of these teasers just to remind people, if you want those games, you can only get them in one place. Which is all Sony really has to do in terms of their strategy for selling PS5s this fall. That's all they really have to do. And I'm still incredibly interested to see what Xbox is able to bring to the table, because it doesn't seem like they really have something on that same level. But all of that being said, there will be teasers for a lot of games. As for which game is going to actually make it on launch day with the PS5, we're going to have to wait to see. I've heard conflicting stories, and apparently a good number of these games are still up in the air. They don't actually know if they're going to be able to meet the original deadline goal of launching alongside the console. Games such as the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn 2 apparently will initially be marketed purely as holiday of 2020. So they can sort of buy enough time that they can delay it. You know, if they were originally going to launch in November, they can push it back to December if they need to. So you buy the console, and then a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, you get the game. Who knows what it's actually going to look like, but it's all up in the air right now. But all of this is just to say that there's reason to be excited. There's reason to be pumped, because I see all these people expressing very pessimistic and negative views, and I understand that proclivity. I understand that, and that's your prerogative. You can be pessimistic and negative if you want. There's nothing inherently, I think, wrong with that. In fact, I think it's even borderline healthy. But I think there is a certain magic in hype and excitement, and it's something the gaming industry is really good at. And I think it's okay to be excited. I think it's okay to be passionate and just off the charts excited. I think that's okay. And especially having seen some of the stuff that I've seen and told a lot of the things, because again, people act like leaks or like I'm being sent trailers and things. It's not. It's usually somebody I've worked with before, somebody who's told me verifiable things before. They send me a multi-paragraph email breaking down what is going on. And so it paints a picture, but it's not the same. Like, I still want to see the trailers. I still want to see all of that. I'm just getting told stuff by people I've verified are working on this project. So it's exciting, but it's not the same as actually seeing the gameplay, seeing the footage. And based on all of that, there's reason to be excited. There's reason to get hopeful, to get the blood flowing, and to start saving for the next gen of consoles, even just one of them, because there's some cool stuff coming. And this is a fantastic time to be a gamer. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Yes, there's been a couple hiccups this year, a couple disappointments like Resident Evil 3. I personally was highly disappointed in that. But there's some cool stuff coming, and I think it's important to remember that. But that's enough. I'll stop rambling. I'll stop talking your ear off. I want to hear your thoughts on this, though, below. Let me know kind of your situation, what your perspective is on all of this, if you're going to be buying any of the consoles at launch. If so, which one and why? I am actually very, very interested in finding out what just my viewers, what an everyday person is interested in. Because believe it or not, being a YouTuber who makes a lot of gaming videos kind of puts you in a bubble. So for me, I'm like, yeah, I have to get the consoles because I have to be able to review the games and look at the games at launch. So I have to set aside the money now. I have to. But, I kind of forget that for a lot of people, it's not a business. So they won't necessarily be doing that. So I want to hear your thoughts. I want to see what your perspective is. And if you don't want to put it down in the comment section below, you can DM me on Instagram or Twitter at Luke Stevens TV on both of them. I will try to respond. I usually read through all of them. It's just actually taking the time to respond to every single one can be tough, especially when there's hundreds upon hundreds of them, but I will try. That's my promise to you, my vow. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. I love you all. I have another Knit Grit episode coming out very soon, and hopefully the Uncharted 2 critique will be out soon as well. We've just run into some issues with transcoding footage and things like that. The camera I'm filming this on had a dead pixel like right up here that was in a couple of videos. Seems to have been fixed. We'll see if it comes back though. Anyway, it's all beside the point. It's coming hopefully soon. I love you all. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy. Let me know your thoughts. Peace out. I love you. Bye-bye.